right, a very good morning to you. It is exactly, yes, 3 minutes past 8, and of course with time for the show that is Your World. So welcome. I hope that you're well this morning. It rained here in Nairobi, so I hope you're well, okay? My name is Winnie Lubembe, and of course today we want to talk about something that is very important, although many people would rather not talk about, and that is taxes, okay? And of course, today we'll be having, the Deputy Commissioner, Medium Taxpayers Office from KRA, that is Mr. George Obel, to just take us through this whole question about taxes, but also something that we all should know about, and this is as far as eTIMS is concerned. But before that, we all know that Kenya Revenue Authority, that is KRA, commenced the rollout of the electronic tax invoice management systems, or eTIMS, if you like, targeting taxpayers who were unable to onboard the tax invoice management system due to various challenges. But the big question is, what exactly is eTIMS, and what is it that we should know about? Who are the targets? Well, that is what we want to talk about on today's conversation. So you want to stick around until the end of the show to understand that and much more. But again, if you have a question, then you know what to do by now. NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter, is how you can reach us. And tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie. Any question that you have as far as eTIMS is concerned. And of course, my guests will be able to answer them. But if you want to talk to him directly, he is here on set today. So just give us a call. The numbers will be down on your screens in just a moment. So let's get to start with the conversation. And of course, Mr. George, it's so good to see you and to have you this morning. Karibu sana. How are you feeling? Is it cold? Are you okay?
Thank you.
How are you feeling this morning?
Thank you, Winnie, for having me. I'm feeling okay. I'm excited. It's good to have this conversation this morning. Right? Always very difficult conversation. Right? But we can break it.
A lot of people would be like, can we talk about something else, like NEC tax? But again, at the end of the day, we have to pay taxes, right? Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
And there's something social, I mean, it's always said that there are two things that are certain. It's about death and taxes.
That's
so we've got to make sure.
You have to.
We've got to have this conversation.
Absolutely. You have to. Okay. But before we even talk about eTIMS and, everything about eTIMS, can we just first of all start from the basics, right? Taxpayer, and then there's the VAT registered taxpayer. It's a lot of things. The different forms of taxes and how they work and all those things. Can we just lay the ground bare, first of all, before we even talk about eTIMS?
Very important, very important. I think it is important for us to be able to distinguish what is VAT. So basically, taxes are taxes on income, and there are certain taxes that are taxes for consumption. So what happens is this. When we talk about value-added tax, we simply talk about tax on transactions. So that when transactions are happening, whether it's sale of goods, or services and other things, there's something we charge on top. And that's what is called the value-added tax. And basically, when we talk about the value-added tax in this country, we have got three rates. We've got the standard rate, which is 16%. We've got the 8%, which is on other products. Mostly these are what we call petroleum products. And we've got a zero rate. Now, the zero rate is very interesting, but zero rate basically is when consumption is out of Kenya. It's going to be consumed elsewhere. Then we charge at zero rate. But then there's something also very important. Not all the goods and services are charged. There are certain services that are exempt. These are services that to do with, for example, medical equipment, medical medicine and those other types. Those ones are put on the side.
Exempt,
Then there are also those ones that are charged at zero rate to make it cheaper. To the public. We're talking about bread, we're talking about unga, those ones. So there is no value-added tax on those ones. It's basically even given a zero rate. The advantage of zero rate is that the cost that has been incurred can be claimed to make those goods cheaper for the final consumer. So that is the regime that is there. And basically, it's a way the government is able to mobilize revenue for common goods. And in that way, again, the other very important thing is that not everybody, for example, is appointed as a VAT registered taxpayer. But then there are these companies that have reached the threshold of 5 million and above annually. If you reach 5 million and above, then you are registered for VAT.
So it's a requirement. You have to be registered.
So consumers pay the tax, but these registered businesses are agents of government. So they collect money on behalf
of the government.
Of the government. So they will levy it at the time they are selling their goods and services. So they levy it, so you'll see it in the invoice. But then they have got the responsibility of making sure they collect that and account for that money on a month-by-month basis.
All right.
So they will file the return, and they'll ensure that return, once the return is filed, they make sure they pay the amount. And they have up to 20th of the following month to pay the amount.
All right.
Yeah, and that's basically what they have collected on behalf of government that they are remitting. The person who has paid is a final consumer. That's what we call where there is impact and there is incident is the final consumer paying.
Who feels it, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the distinction. Now that means that the number registered for KRA currently, we've got about 250,000 VAT registered taxpayers. Okay. Yeah. And the active one was just about 120,000. Those are the active ones. Those are the ones that are filing, either they are filing to pay, they are filing credit, and they are filing on a consistent basis. We've got a significant number that is filing nil or are not filing at all. And those ones are the ones we've got, then we also focus on them.
Yeah, but why is that? Because one registers as a VAT registered taxpayer, but then again, they are not filing.
Yes.
Why is that the case?
Okay. We've seen various reasons.
Okay.
First of all, but once you've been registered, by law, you are required to file.
Absolutely.
So you've got to file, you've got to comply. The challenge we see sometimes is that there are certain businesses that have got some challenges. There is one month they're doing very well, another month they're not doing very well, or several months they're not doing very well, but they are still supposed to be filing, whether or not they have good business within those months. For example, if you are doing those, you've come forward to apply for VAT because you expect that you may win a contract by these government contracts or other things. Then you're VAT registered, but then probably you don't win. Then now again you find that they're not filing, but the obligation is to file. If you find yourself in that situation, then you are also called upon to come forward and register. So when you register, then you do not have the obligation to file again every month. But if you don't, then you're penalized for not filing. Yeah, but then if you do not have business, also there's another option. You can file nil because there was no business you invoiced during that period, and that's perfectly okay. You can file nil, and when the business comes, you continue then filing and paying in the manner you're supposed to file.
Do you have instances where people file nil and yet they are still just making money? Yes.
Unfortunately, yes, because you see, we have got a very robust way of identifying businesses that are doing business that then are not filing. Why am I saying that? Is that the way things are here is that when you look at an invoice, when somebody is selling goods, for example, is bought from somewhere.
True.
And you're selling. So the person who you bought from has declared it. And if you sell to somebody else, the person who you've sold to may also declare it as an input. So when we look at that data, we're able to tell that this business is doing business. And if you're not filing and you're doing that business, then you've got a mechanism, a very robust mechanism, to then catch up with you and ask the questions. The other key advantage, for example, I can mention here is that, for example, government is one of the largest consumer of services and goods. And they have got a system, it's called the eTIMS system, that they use to make payments. Now, within that system, we have got also access to that system. So we can get to know who has been paid what, and you can be able to compare that with your filing. So we are always able to do that.
You're and always we're always watching.
Yes, and we're able to give additional assessments and those kind of things. But the right thing to do is basically to comply.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing.
For all of us to comply. And of course, and I'd want to know, again, as times goes by, technology, and of course we're in the digital era, of course we also need to move with time, right? And that is why we're talking about eTIMS today. But before that, can we just first of all get to understand, because those teams, now we have eTIMS, right? So can we first of all just get to understand, what that is all about, and then we can look at some of the challenges that we had before that eTIMS is actually solving now, because one of the things was like a bulk, of all these invoices that one had to, to fill. Very
well. So what happens here is this. there's been a lot of advancement in technology. And KRA as a responsible institution, you're supposed also to match up to that institution. So that's very important. Now, the other very important thing is that there should be visibility of transactions. So this was important for us to be able to have visibility of all transactions that are taking place. So that it is, when somebody is charging VAT and you're VAT registered, everyone in the country wants to be sure that that money, which the final consumer has paid, has reached the taxman.
That's true.
It's very important so that the money can be available to the exchequer
Not
for
lost
expenditure.
in between.
It's not lost between, because if that happens, it distorts many things. One of them is that if, for example, you have got two businesses that are in the same industry, and one is charging VAT and accounting for it, another one is charging, not accounting for it, or not even charging at all.
At all,
It distorts.
It's a bit of an imbalance
yes,
there.
exactly. And that creates a lot of problems. So we saw an opportunity to be able then to leverage. And then through Parliament, a law was passed so that you can then be able to introduce an electronic system for purposes of accounting for VAT. Now, simply what it means is this: the tax invoice management system, which is the first one before I go to eTIMS. eTIMS means the tax invoice management system. Basically, what it meant is that there was now an opportunity to have visible all the invoices that are generated by the businesses. Because then the government has got a stake. The stake is the 16%, the 8% I've talked about. So they need to be clear that all those transactions are visible and seen. So as a result of that, when the law came into place, 2011, when the law came into place, and over a period of time, up to 2021, now we came up with the new regulations. Those regulations required that businesses then buy gadgets. They are called device gadgets. Earlier we were calling them electronic tax, ETR, electronic tax receipts.
We usually ask, Nkona ETR?
Yes, exactly.
All right.
But now, this was very unique. Because as opposed to earlier, when you could see that you get an invoice or you get a receipt and then something is cut on the side and then attached to it, we saw the need to eliminate that. So when we did that, we now had gadgets which are internet enabled, and that gadget meant that you can then be able to have on your invoice some printing at the back or at the front of it. And that shows that that invoice has been authenticated. And it means that the commissioner has now accounted for that VAT, or there's an image for that invoice already with the KRA. So that's why this was introduced. It's basically a device solution, that the tax invoice management system was a device solution where businesses bought those devices, and then these devices are internet enabled, they are computer enabled, they can then be able to have this information shared on real time, almost on real time basis to the commissioner. At the end of the period, the commissioner can look at the invoices you've cut and compare with your filing. And that can be brought together. However, the challenge with the teams was this, that certain taxpayers, for example, VAT taxpayers, found it expensive. Because some gadgets would cost a minimum of 35,000, and some businesses require more than one. You required more than 1, 2, or 3, many more. And therefore, the cost was prohibitive. And they say, look here, we don't have them to pass this very expensive cost for compliance. Can we find a way to make sure that compliance becomes cheaper and reasonable, even for the businesses? And then we look for opportunity to come with what we call the electronic tax invoice management system. It's basically a web-based solution now. Web-based solution is a software solution. And what it does now is that we can now be able to do many other things to make the businesses compliant. Instead of you buying a gadget, we ask you, what is it that you have? If you've got a Windows system, then we just come and put in an app in it, and you don't have to pay. And if you have it in place, you can be able to transact. If you are transacting using a tablet or even a phone, you can then be able to use that because you just put an app into it and you can be able to transact. And even if you don't have all that, we've got another choice. You can be able to go online into our systems. This is cost-free. Go into your PIN, and then from there you can then be able to issue invoices directly. And this will be very good
Yeah.
For businesses that do not have so many transactions. I always give very easy example.
Yeah.
If you are billing for rent or quarterly, as in you've got 1 or 2 invoices in 3 months, you don't have to buy an expensive gadget. You can go online and issue the invoice. It will go to your client.
And then to your clients.
You'll have complied and we're okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one that was also very important, which now made us to make this shift, is that there are some businesses which, because of their very, very, very strict SLA, the service level agreements to their customers, that they are going to issue invoices at particular time.
Yes.
So they are doing very bulk numbers of invoices. If now you can start talking about KPLC or Safaricom for postpaid customers, those are very many invoices to be given within a very short period of time.
Okay.
So the challenge with them was this, is that with the device solution, you needed very many of those devices. And because each one can only take a certain, it's limited in scope.
That's true, yeah.
So we saw an opportunity to have a software solution. Now we just come in, embed with your system.
All right.
Don't interfere with your system at all, but just embed with it. When we embed with it, using an integration process, you can still use now your system, but at the same time, we can then be able to still get the information because every invoice that is given is authenticated.
Oh, yes.
And the commissioner has got an image of that invoice. So that has made it much more
a little bit easier.
And making it easier for taxpayers. So it's not it's not intrusive in a way, but it enables the business to continue functioning in the same way it was functioning
before.
Yes.
Okay, and of course that brings the whole aspect of simplicity, convenience, and flexibility.
Yes.
Like we talked about, and this is as far as the eTIMS is concerned.
Yes.
All right. So would you, because someone might be watching us this morning and thinking, okay, but I had registered for TIMS, right? So what happens? Do I disregard that completely and then join into the eTIMS, or what exactly happens?
Good. Okay, good. At this initial point, what we have done is that both databases are talking to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do not have a problem. Currently, whoever is in TIMS can still continue in TIMS.
Okay.
But then we are coming up with, over a period of time, we are going to give a very short time to migrate.
Okay.
So there'll be migration.
We're still in the pilot phase,
exactly.
right?
The pilot phase for eTIMS.
Okay.
When the team has been fully rolled out and it is working very well, then we'll migrate our taxpayers to that system.
Right.
And we'll have a discussion. We'll have a discussion and agree how this is going to be done. So it's going to be done seamlessly. There's not going to be challenges. We are going to, of course, address all the individual concerns that are there so that we can be able to do this. But we expect this in this kind of environment. Technology keeps on changing.
Absolutely.
And so we expect this to happen. So obviously, at any given time, you expect that any institution, like KRA has got to be at the cutting edge in technology. And so we expect this kind of changes to happen. The way you upgrade systems, you make them better, much more suitable, anything easier to work with, that's what will be driving us. So that then we are not affecting the taxpayers' activities. We are not inconveniencing them, but at the same time, we are able to work together. But there's something very important also I need to mention here. The big advantage here is this. Now there'll be a very clear, transparent process of making sure the VAT has been accounted for. When it is charged and at the point is being paid, that has been fully accounted for. But for the businesses, we will make it easier for them. Currently, right now, some of the businesses then are forced then to have somebody else to do the filing, to do the invoices number by number, invoice number, the amounts, the quantities. That will be a thing of the past. Because when we have got that information, we can automatically pre-populate the return for the taxpayer.
All right.
And we can do it almost at the end of the month. We can do it almost instantly. So we don't have to wait for 20th. You see, that makes it easier.
Yes.
The other aspect that was also bringing problems to the businesses, because when we are dealing with VAT, there's a situation where you can be on credit, meaning that your total output is less than your total input. So it means that either you need to be refunded by the government, that will be made easier. When it's made easier, because you see what happens, when you've already seen that and in the system and you can see the way you're operating, then you can be able to be refunded the VAT that you paid automatically. Currently, it is tied for a longer period of time. It needs to be verified. We are careful not to refund what has not been paid to the government. So then, and that is manual, so that will be eliminated. And then another advantage for the final consumer is that When we bring efficiency on VAT, and because there is a gap that we have identified, the VAT gap is there.
Yeah.
When we bring efficiency, then the opportunity for us then to be able to look at the law as a country, look at the law and say, okay, now we are charging 16%. It's the lowest in the region. In ESC, most of the countries are charging 18%.
Yeah.
Can we take
some
this
people who
number?
are saying, can we reduce it a little?
Yes.
But okay.
Can you take it lower? You understand?
We'll get to that
yes,
point. If we,
exactly.
oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. That's
so
a good point.
those could be there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities that can be used there, including, of course, simplification, making it simple for filing, simple for accounting for that tax. That is an advantage to everybody.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. We need to go on a break in the next like maybe 4 minutes or so. But just in case someone is watching us and listening to this conversation and getting that the whole aspect about eTIMS for the very first time, right? And they're like, okay, then so how do because again, like you said, this is a requirement for businesses who are making a turnover annually of what 5 million, right?
Yes,
5 million annually, right? So someone is watching us and thinking, okay, so then how do I register? For the same. So can we just talk about that very quickly? And then something very interesting, and especially as far as the eTIMS is concerned, is there is 100% claim guaranteed. Yes. Which is very interesting for some people who might want to know about the same. But first of all, how do we register for the same?
Very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what we've done is that we've got an online registration process.
Okay.
You don't have to go physically to an office somewhere. You just need to go to our website, and then you go through, and then you apply.
Okay.
When you apply, you'll go in, you'll find out there's a VAT application so that you can be able to click it and then give the information. There's a form to fill.
Yeah.
Once you fill that form, everything, it will trigger a task in the back office, and then somebody will reach out to you, just confirm the details that needs to be confirmed. Once that has been confirmed, then you are given the VAT obligation.
Okay.
And then you are told also your requirement. Immediately we have registered you also. What we normally do is that we take you through a sensitization so that you understand your obligation.
Absolutely.
So we tell you, you need to file on monthly basis. We let you know, you understand how to deal with your input, how to deal with your output, what is the tax point, those are very important, so that you don't make mistakes.
Okay.
So once you've done that, then now we give you the obligation, now you can be able to start filing. And then if you are, for example, a large taxpayer or a medium taxpayer, then you've got also relationship management. You've got somebody who will tell you who this is your relationship manager, then they work together with you. So that you can then be able to comply without problems. Yeah. So that has been automated.
Very easy, very easy registration process. You don't have to wait for like a month for you to know whether you you have the obligation or not. It's after you register and all those things. It's pretty much seamless, right?
Yes,
okay, all right. So and at the same time, and I know this is still in the pilot phase at the moment. So what are some of the feedback that maybe you have gotten from the people who have already registered? Because like we said, this is more of an enhancement from TIMS, right? So what are some of the feedback that you have gotten as far as eTIMS is concerned at the moment?
We are very excited and also very impressed by the feedback we are getting from the public. The taxpayers that we picked on pilot, they have given us very important feedback. Okay. First of all, that fact that now the cost is not there. Or is almost minimal cost. Yeah. You understand? And then the support structure that you put. That the taxpayers are very happy about it. Okay. The other thing that is very important is that within that system, we have embedded other modules that are for a lot of advantage to the taxpayer. One of them is supply chain module. That is actually stock management module. Yeah. So you can be able to even use that same system to check on your stocks levels. You can confirm. Yeah. Yeah, so you can make a reference to it. You can be able to confirm your status. So it's enabling your business. You see, you can also, because that information that you have got access to, also the taxpayers got access to. Everything. So you can then be able to see there what is your sales numbers, what is your stocks, what is your theoretical stock numbers. You can be able to tell that, and you can interact with us. All right. And you can do it at the comfort of your premises. You don't have them to go physically. You don't have to go at a specific office or come to you. Okay. Yes, exactly. All right. And so that's a lot of advantage. And for those ones that we are using the integration, the API integration. You're saying,
Yeah.
you don't have to change your system.
Okay.
If you've got a very good, robust ERP system that is serving you very well, we just integrate with it.
Okay.
And so there is no major changes that you expect in your system. So you still operate in the same way that you're operating before. And now you've got an added layer of information that you can be able to access to as to the health of your business.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
Absolutely. I like that. All right, so let's take a break. But of course, when we come back, would want to understand, because as KRA, of course, you have targets, right? Yes. And of course, we've talked about how beneficial this is to all the businesses, but also to the government. Yes. How will, eTIMS, benefit the government in one way or the other? And of course, for KRA as well, in terms of the target that you have, is it 3 trillion?
Yes,
that we have. So how is this beneficial to you, as well as far as, the revenue potential as far as, of VAT is concerned right here in the country? So that is what we'll also want to find out before the end of the conversation. But again, like we said, if you have any question for Mr. George, feel free to forward them our way at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us. Or you want to talk to him directly, he is here, okay? So the numbers will be down on your screen. Give us a call, and of course, let's all have a better understanding as far as eTIMS is concerned by the end of the day. So see you very shortly right here on Your World.
Dad, what made you decide to become a doctor?
It's because my father needed one. And you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be happy like you.
Life insured is love assured.
To get Uinuliwe by Bide, dial star 811 936 hash. Skiza na Nation.
While football is an emotional game, there is no longer any true romance at the top end, and nobody should be fooled that there is. So, while there is emotion attached to Frank Lampard's return to Chelsea as manager, there is actually no romance. After all, for Lampard and especially for Chelsea, this is purely a business decision.
For 50 years, SBM Group has been a global cornerstone of stability and service, offering generations of customers the financial tools to build their futures. In Kenya, SBM Bank embarks on its 5th year. Through market fluctuations, economic downturns, and changing financial landscapes, it has remained steadfast in its commitment to providing the best possible service to its customers.
SBM has proved to be a very important partner to our business.
Banking with SBM, my money is safe.
Join us for an inside look at the history, impact, and future. Thursday, 13th April at 7:40 p.m. only on NTV.
SBM Bank, for a smarter tomorrow.
You can get these fake test results from anywhere.
That's not a fake!
We still need to see if the father of that baby is really Diego.
We are going to expose those lying scoundrels. We need to look for places to install the cameras to record them.
This love is the purest I've ever felt. There isn't any other woman in my life except you, Natalia. Head over heels.
Western Union is now available on Equity Mobile app and Equity Online. Enjoy Western Union services and other banking services on your Equity Mobile app or Equity Online. Equity, Karibu member.
Okay, welcome back. And of course, our time flies, but we need to have, a better understanding as far as eTIMS. It's all about the next. The next time you go and ask Nkona ETR, you know what that is all about, and that's for you and for the businesses as well. And of course, we have Mr. George Obel, who is a Deputy Commissioner, Medium Taxpayers Office, and also project owner of eTIMS.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Look at that! How interesting! Perfect person to really help us with this conversation. And of course, before we went on a break, there was this question that someone had that I think maybe we can focus on some of the problems that eTIMS is coming to solve. And we've talked about the whole question about simplicity, convenience, and flexibility to the business, but also not forgetting KRA and your targets and how eTIMS is coming to solve that. But there's someone who said, the whole question about the refund. And they said that you have delayed in channeling their refunds at a faster rate, right? So is this one of the problems that eTIMS is coming to solve?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, surely. Yeah. So this is one of the problems that is going to be resolved.
Okay.
Yes. First of all, I must admit we've got delays in refunding VAT.
Yeah.
And sometimes for business is a big cash flow issue.
Yeah.
Because then you've got a lot of your money tied, and you need money to be able to make the business move.
That's true. That's true.
So what has happened is that we had to do something called the manual audit to confirm that refund is due. And this is a manual process. You've got to give a notice, you've got to send officers to the business premises, they're going to check.
Yeah.
By the time that report is out and everything has been done, delays.
Takes a bit of time, yes. Yeah.
What a good opportunity we have now that we can be able to see the transactions and you can be able to see who has sold it to you.
Yeah.
The ones you are claiming, they've already declared as themselves. Is already seen because now eTIMS will be having a transaction on a real time or near real time.
Yeah.
Now, that will eliminate the element of coming to do audits, to come and check on your premises because you have the information. Now, from there, you can then be able to quickly refund.
Yeah.
You can even be able to put some other taxpayers on what we call a green channel because they know them because of their nature of business. For example, they're exporters. There'll always be businesses that needs to be refunded all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
And we should also be, ultimately, we should be at a place that other developed economies are. For example, when you're in Europe or when you're in Dubai, for example, you can buy your goods. When you buy your goods at the airport, you get your money refunded. And it's done automatically.
Yeah.
Because the commissioner there has already seen the amount that you've paid.
Absolutely.
Because you can see all the invoices.
They can see, yes, yeah.
So
like
you
they
just
said,
show them
at
the airport, they have already been seen. So this is going to enable us to get into that place.
Okay.
So it's taking us to the right place. And then you've mentioned also something very important, which I need to comment about. Yes, as an authority, we are going to enhance the revenue collection, particularly on VAT because of this system. Why? Is that currently we are collecting our tax with GDP for VAT currently is 4%.
Yeah.
Other countries that have effected this kind of systems, they are in the 7% and upwards. And an example here will be Rwanda.
Rwanda, yes.
7% and upward. So you see we have got a 3% gap there that we can be able to address just by bringing efficiency, not increasing the rate of tax. Bringing efficiency
on board,
There's visibility and all these transactions are seen. Then you're able to collect 3% more. And 3% more, our GDP currently is about 390 billion. So we see that opportunity to close that because that money is lost in between somewhere. It's either lost with the business, in which has collected that VAT and not remitted, or it's lost at the point of customer buy. You see, somebody was not given an invoice. And when you're not given an invoice, or you're given a discount without being given an invoice, right in there, VAT is lost. So that has got to be patched up and to be closed so that we've got a much more efficient
Still
system.
all these loopholes.
That is going to help KRA very well. And when it helps KRA very well, it will also help KRA on the income tax side because the sales for VAT is also the sales for income tax.
True.
And the purchases on the VAT side is also the purchases for the income tax side. So that now the issues of understatement of sales on the income tax side or overstatement of cost on the income tax side will be severely be limited.
Yeah.
That window will be gone. So we can then be able to also see efficiency in that aspect.
I see that.
So this is again a major reason why we are putting this in place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we talked about the question about compliance earlier on when we started the show. And again, like you said, more than 250,000 people who are registered, that is VAT registered taxpayers, but only 120,000 are active, right? So in terms of then compliance and having eTIMS on board, so you feel this will be able to close this gap? For sure. Because
you see, the moment you've got the transactions, we actually think, from where we sit, that the VAT registered taxpayers ought to be much more than the 250.
True.
We should be seeing much more. We are a bigger economy. Actually, the biggest in this region. We're a bigger economy. There's a lot of transactions. We know there are businesses. If you look at, for example, the tax-based expansion area, the SME, you find that their contribution is about 40% to the GDP. Therein, there's an opportunity. So when we bring this in place, not only will we close for the ones who are either nil or null filers that are closing between the 120 to the 250, but we see ourselves now going beyond the 250. We should be at 300 to 400,000 of taxpayers who are then who should be in VAT and we should be fully accounting for VAT. And that will come through. Because once we've got this system in place and it's working, all that information is going to be available. We can be able to see who has, when an invoice is given, there are two parts of it. There's a person who has issued and the person who is the recipient. Yes. So we have got, for that same transaction, we have got now information on the two. The people dealing with them, the two parties. You've got this party and the other party. And you can tell whether that party ought to have been within the threshold and is not registering. So we can bring them forward and register. And then educate them, and then they can be able to move forward. So there is all that advantage that's going to come with the system.
And we talked about sensitization as well. And again, like you said, once you register, there's a bit of sensitization taking place and all those things. But then on a larger scale, because like we said, we need to, KRA needs to attract more than the 250 who are already registered, right? We need to see more so that we enjoy the benefits, of the same, right? So the big question is, on a larger scale, how then do you do that? I know we're here today talking about it, so that we have as much people or as many people having this information, as far as eTIMS and how this will help in terms of, revenue, right? But the whole question about, so then making sure that this information gets to every single person, and you call mashinani, right? Yes. What are some of the things that has worked so far, and what are some of the things that you're looking forward to see implemented?
Very well. So we've got a very robust system that we put in place to be able to reach every taxpayer at their needs. One of them is the stakeholder management. We have got what we call the business member organizations that we work closely with. These are business representatives that we work very closely with. We have got, some people who are just managing this, and they bring in their members. So when they bring in their members, we have a discussion about the membership. So we will have a discussion. For example, we're talking about manufacturing. Kenya Association of Manufacturers is one of our partners. Professional organization, ISPAC, the Law Society of Kenya. We work closely together. Many others, and that is managed. So that's one way of reaching those organizations and their members. Another way we do is that we identify taxpayers directly, sector, and then we sensitize them. So bring them on board. These days you can even do it virtually. We ask them to, we ask them to log in. We have got the discussion, or we go into this town hall discussions with them and call them. And then we have got the wider reach. We have got the regional offices all across the country. So each and every corner these days, you find that there's a KRA office. And that KRA office has got to serve that region. So they will call their taxpayers in that region and they'll reach them and educate them. And every time we look at the needs. So we always do what we call a gap analysis. The gap analysis tells us which is the areas we are seeing gaps that needs to be addressed. Once we have identified that gap analysis, that is the focus. So it's done at the local level, it's done at the at the national level, and there's a message to be passed across all the time. Because continually, no tax. Every year, there will also be changes in the law.
That's true.
So like now we're in this other budget cycle that is coming. So those changes, the finance bill, are you seeing, is going to have some impact on all the revenue acts. that are in place. That we must find a way to make sure that the taxpayer is aware about it so that they can be able to comply.
Absolutely.
So it's a continuous process.
Absolutely.
We've got a whole structure
involves,
to manage that.
Involves a lot. It's like more of like, multifaceted, just to make sure that everybody gets that.
Is there an opportunity to improve on that? Yes. Also a very active social media. We are very active in that. So we've got our own pushing information at that, at the digital platform. A lot of information is being put. And also above the line, we keep on also engaging.
Absolutely. It's very, very interesting how nowadays we get all this information. And I'm pretty sure if you have an email.
Some come to your mail.
Some come to your mail in a very interesting, in a very interesting way.
The only funny thing about it is sometimes when you wish you are very good,
a holiday, for example, like Easter just recently.
Some people find it strange.
Why is KRL? I see that. Okay, then. And of course, like we talked about the businesses and how this will benefit the businesses, right? We've mentioned a little bit about the country in terms of like growth of the GDP and all those things. But aside from that, how then will eTIMS, first of all, benefit not just the government, let's just say us as a country, because when we talk about the government, so will be like, and then how am I going to benefit? So there's a bit of a of a barrier there. But us as a country, in terms of growing our country and all those things, to what level would you say eTIMS would help us achieve that?
Okay, 3 key ones.
Okay.
The first one is this: if you check this system that we're putting in place, it's going to bring efficiency in our transactions.
Okay.
So there'll be efficiency in the transactions. All the businesses that are required to charge then will be on board, they charge. And that transparency ensures level playing field.
True.
So everybody else, it brings efficiency. We expect also from this that, of course, obviously the collections are going to go high. And if there's a benefit of that in terms of lower rates, that can be passed to the final consumer. But the other thing which is very important is that that money that now we are collecting, you see, these are monies that are being used by the government to give us services.
That's true.
We're
always calling for, we need better services, we have a right to better services.
Exactly.
I see that.
So your contribution, if there is a very efficient way, very transparent way, you can be able to see the way the money is moved and it reaches the coffers, and then now it's being spent back for the benefit of the people. That is a very key benefit. There'll be a lot of, people can then be able to see better services. We should then have closed the gap that we are seeing on VAT and the gap that could be also available in other taxes. We should be able to close that. So that efficiency will be shared all across. And when you shine light into a place that probably was not having so much, you can then be able to see much more benefit for everybody else. For the tax, for the final consumer, they are very sure about the tax that they are paying and how it's working. And there's something also close that I need to mention now that we are working also towards. Once we put that system in place, this system in place, we can then be able to also motivate the final consumer. We can motivate you to be able to, because when we say motivating, it's motivating you to take invoices, to take receipts when you do transactions. That can be done through lottery, through giving back money to the final consumer, so that you are motivated to then take invoices and take receipts when you do transactions. And that's good, so that your money is not lost. You don't pay the money.
You're able to track and see.
And then you can be able to, with that information also, because now we'll be able to put it on a digital platform. Look at what we can do with business, what we call the analytics. You can be able to pick information about consumption patterns of particular consumers. You can share that information to them. You can use it for purposes of national planning. All those are advantages that can come because of that. Because now you've got data, very reliable data, that you can be able to look through and you can make informed decisions based on them.
Absolutely. And also help you achieve your targets.
Of course, obviously.
That's scary. Okay. All right. And in terms of like then quantifying and say, I mean, and again, being cognizant of the fact that we said this is still in pilot phase, but there's something that you said that interesting, that by the end of this month, we should be able to, like starting next month, we should be able to see a full rollout of the same?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But, we are doing piloting for eTIMS. The pilot is coming to the end of this month. Come 1st of May, we're going for full rollout. So the full rollout will kick in. And we expect that by 1st of July, the new financial year, then we should have all our taxpayers on board. And that's the focus. So we have got on board every of our taxpayers. Now we can be able to take advantage. Now you can be able to. The system, the way it's designed, is that when everybody comes on board, then you get the benefit. Because if you've got other people outside and other people inside, then now it's distorted. So we have got to cure that. And that's why I'm appealing to the taxpayers to be able to focus on this. We have got a whole team, a robust team out there to support them, to make it very easy. And it takes a very short time to be able to onboard onto this. So I appeal again to the taxpayers to take this very seriously, get on board quickly. We have provided very many avenues, including a call center. We are messaging to specific taxpayers, talking to them about this. They quickly have got to come on board, and then we can then be able to comply. It's also a legal requirement.
True.
Yeah, so it's a legal requirement, and so let us comply so that we can make this fairly easy.
Like you say, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee. Okay, so then let's talk about some of the policies, you know, reforms that have been implemented then, you know, by KRA, just to make sure that, you know, in as much as, yes, we want people to come on board, but also from KRA, we're able to hold you, you know, responsible.
Yes. So, so there are various reforms that we're putting in place currently. One of them, for example, is to make sure that we collect tax at source. So we have already started the process of collecting tax at source. And this we started, for example, with the betting. So when you go to the betting sector, we are able now to collect tax on a daily basis. And that eliminates a very key gap that was there before. The gap was that you had to account for tax by 20th of the following month. Now, if the tax is paid on 1st of the month, you've got to account on 20th of the following month. If you look at that, it's about 50 days to 30 days. Now that period, that is money that ought to have been paid to commissioner, and then when it's paid to commissioner, it goes straight away to the exchequer account. So it becomes available for expenditure. So we are trying to make sure that we close on that area. We are also making sure that we upgrade our systems so that our system become much more agile. Now we've got two core systems that are very important. The iTax, I think people are very aware about it.
Yes, everybody knows about iTax by now.
And then the one for customs is called ICMS. So we are upgrading all those two systems so that it can become much more agile and much more, robust. Because there shouldn't be a reason, in my view, why we shouldn't give you your statement every month. The way KPLC is giving, the way other people are giving, we should be able to reach that. And we just need to make sure that the information is available properly. We make sure we clean our systems, which is what we have embarked on now. Our registers should be clean. The information that we hold for the taxpayer should be clear.
Should also be clear,
your telephone numbers, your email address, all that should be clear. And then your ledger should also be clean. So that, you see, we don't send you a statement and then we start another process of saying, oh, my ledger has got all these other mistakes.
And then it's like back and forth,
back and forth.
So it's a bit of
so
time.
We should be at that place. And so we've got, we've got teams working on this to make sure that happens. And also the government, the entire government is supporting this in terms of making sure that our core systems is improved. Now, again, the other important thing which I need to mention, this system I'm talking about, the eTIMS and others. All these systems are integrated together with the iTax system, together with the ICMS system. They're all going to be integrated. So that when you've done transactions from the custom side, for example, you've imported goods, you don't have again to input them for VAT. All those
everything has already been input.
Yes, it works all across. You get So that brings a lot of elements of efficiency. The other element that we are looking at, just to be able, so you can see we are big on making sure that the systems are working, business are facilitated. They are talking at the back of it. And the other thing, when you've done that, you can then be able to bring another level of efficiency in terms of we don't wait for transactions to happen 3 or 4 years and then we start knocking on your door. Because of this information, we can then be able to improve our enforcement. Enforcement, because we can be able to deal on it on real time, almost. Because with proper data analytics, we can be able to get that information, share with you. Where there's a gap, we tell you at the time it's happening, and then you can be able to cure them. That also brings element of efficiency. We're also looking at the law. The President mentioned the other day, just looking at the tax laws, you see, together with National Treasury. So we're working together, we're looking at the tax law and see which ones, and you see, we then need to see how we can be able to change them or make them much more friendlier so that compliance becomes easier.
Absolutely.
Another thing that is important is the tax-based expansion. Because you see, the burden right now is not very shared properly. So there's a lot of focus on that aspect so that we can then be able to bring also more people to pay. If the more people come in, okay, the less the burden for everybody, because then you can lower the burden. But if there's only fewer people, then the burden becomes a problem.
Absolutely.
So we are also doing a lot of activities around tax-based expansion to make sure that we close onto that gap. So there are many other things that are happening. I could go into details of the need, but we may not have the time. But there are many other aspects that are coming.
I can see a time much is much spent. All right. And before we talk about you know, the success drivers as far as KRA is concerned, and of course the policy reforms that are expected in the Finance Bill 2023, you know, that we talked about a little bit earlier on, with technology, of course we all know it still has its own challenges. Can be efficient, can be very convenient for many people, but there are challenges that might come in. And I know majority of the times we talk about data protection, right? There's also the aspect of hacking, you know, those people. So with this, what are some of the measures that have been put in place by KRA just to make sure that, yes, in as much as the system is going to bring in a lot of simplicity, convenience, and flexibility, but also it is safe for the users?
Good. There's something that is happening in the wider government, which I need to mention.
All right.
Very important. The wider government, using the ICT ministry, has brought us together. The reason why they brought us together is because government is a key stakeholder in this. So not only for KRA, but for all government.
Everybody,
so in terms of, for example, you know, the government, but there, just for information to know, you know, there's the CONSA Technocity that is coming up. Are you seeing it? They are going to provide, you know, databases for you can be able to archive your information there. It's much more safer. And the government provides that for all the government institutions.
All right.
They will also work together with us on security. Because security is very important.
It's key.
It's very important. So how do we secure our systems? So we have got dedicated teams, but we're also working with the wider government. And the government has come in strongly on this. And you're saying, how do we secure not only our databases, but the overall government databases, because they're very important. If you affect one, because these systems depend on each other. For example, we have integrated with the BRS system for the business registration. We work very closely with motor vehicle registration. So all this has got to be secured. So you are not safe if we don't secure the ones that we integrate with. So the government has come in to make sure they do that. They're also working about the infrastructure, the superhighway, so that you can then be able to have linkages. All our offices are properly linked. All that has been put together. So there is a policy document that is working about that. And so it's linking with that, in addition to what the government you've had saying, that you want to make sure about 5,000 of government services have been placed on e-government. KRA is part of that. So our services is also going to be available at that level. And so if there's other advantage that comes, like for example, now there's this talk about digitalization of identity. When that comes in, it will percolate into the KRA system. And then you can take advantage of that again. So there are many things that are happening. There are policies that are coming in place, and government is putting resources to ensure that the systems are really protected.
All right. And I'm told we need to start winding up very quickly, but I also want to understand, you know, some of the possible policy reforms, like we said, for the finance bill that is 2023. What are we looking at very quickly? It's a lot,
when you come to policy and when it's coming through, of course there are processes.
True.
Treasury is looking at it. Once it's looked at it, Parliament through their subcommittee has got to look at it. And when they look at it, and then it's going to be discussed through Parliament, and then ultimately it becomes law. So there are a lot of proposals that have been put together. And as KRA, how we do it is that we put proposal, but we share with them the Treasury. So the Treasury will look through them. And they will see from their policy perspective what they think needs to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And then they'll also invite what we call public participation. That can be done at that level. Yeah. Also, it can be done at the level of parliament before now, ultimately. So there's quite a bit of proposals that have been put across.
Okay.
And some of them, the president has mentioned around them. So they are being put together. Obviously, when we get into public participation,
then
we can be able
we can
to
get
have
privy to
yes,
all
exactly.
those,
what
all
has
these
gone
proposals.
through. At this point in time, I can only mention some of the ones that were proposed, but then they have got to go through this process, which is a very good elaborate process to make sure that all factors are taken care of.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Okay then. So not going to pry so much, but let's wait. But as we wind up, so yes, understanding eTIMS and how it works, and how it's going to solve most of these problems that we have experienced in the past, and for us to get to that target where, like we said, we need to go beyond to the 250,000 who are just registered, right? Only 120,000 are very active. So have you given yourself like a target, like for example by May or by June, before we get into the next financial year? This is the number that you're looking at as far as VAT registered taxpayers?
Yes, we've done that. What we've done is that with the eTIMS that we're implementing now, one of the proposals, of course, we have put in the law is to make sure we extend this beyond the VAT taxpayers.
Okay. All right.
So when you extend this beyond the VAT tax, for example, if that proposal goes through, it means that from 1st of January, then you will ask all the businesses, whether you're VAT registered or not VAT registered, to be able to issue invoices in the system.
All right.
Now, you see the advantage with that. Quickly now, we do not have then to do mathematics. We'll just quickly get to know who has reached the threshold and know who needs to be registered.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
The other thing which may come with that is that the businesses will then be required. You can only transact with a business which is legitimate in the system.
Yes.
Meaning that you will not be allowed, if that is passed in the law, you will not be allowed to claim a deduction against an expenditure that was not done with somebody who is in the system.
Okay.
That will require that others come into the system. So when they come into the system, you can see the impact on revenue. And you can see the impact on the numbers. Because then it means, if I just give you a simple example, if you drive around Mombasa Road today, you'll find some trucks waiting there with sand to sell. And you just need someone one today, and they don't give you an invoice. But then, when you require them to register, because then it's only when that deduction can be allowed, then they'll have to register in the system. And they will get to know who is doing business at that level. Because you may assume that a small business is a very big business.
Yes.
That is there. So there's an advantage of that. So that will also, the efficiency will percolate beyond the VAT.
Beyond the VAT.
It will go to the income taxes and beyond.
I see
we
that.
can then be able to see advantage.
I see that. And like you said, the more, the merrier. We're able to enjoy the benefits. Okay, we have to end the conversation right here, right now. Thank you very much, Mr. George Abel, Deputy Commissioner, Medium Taxpayers Office, and also the brainchild behind eTIMS, right? Thank you so much for coming by today and helping us really understand, what eTIMS is all about and how, it's going to benefit not only the businesses, but also us as a country, in general. So asante sana. But if you have more questions, again, at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us, and then we'll forward them to the team who'll be able to answer you, as far as eTIMS is concerned. But for now, allow us to end the conversation. Have yourselves a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you on Monday, next week on Monday. So until then, stay safe and God bless. Goodbye for now.